Hunter x Hunter 125 hangout was canceled because not enough people participate, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a review. Let's go to the end scene. I actually want to go to the first, but the king and Netero are fighting. Okay, that's going to be the big thing in this, right? But the complexity of what's going on, the balance that a lot of these characters have to find. How are you the good guy if you're out killing people? So your motivation has to be for higher purposes, but then again, there's a lot of villains that actually believe, some of them believe that they're doing something good by doing evil. So where's the balance? And Netero, he seemed to have things balanced out pretty well, and even in the beginning, part of how he was able to achieve higher powers, right, was by being humble, by being grateful. Okay, when he went and when he was beating these other opponents, they would have to come at him, and at the end he was gracious and he would take the hand of the people that he had defeated, right? So it isn't just about strength with these characters, and in this manga there's a lot of other things going on. In the beginning of, or near the beginning of the flashback, whenever, not this flashback, the prior one, when Netero was becoming powerful, when he got his own dojo, the older person there that was in charge of it conceded it to him. He says, "You clearly are more powerful than me. I give you this dojo." And the whole thing was done. It was over. Right? And there's a natural order of this, a natural way of respect. The old guy in control of the dojo is alive, right? Netero gets what he wants, and there's a natural kind of an order. Well, the natural order now is Netero, as he says, is now having to force the issue. He's literally with someone that wants to talk, and he doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to, because he wants to achieve his goals, right? And just to stop for a minute, what if he would have really, and they did have some of a conversation, but what if he had really had an in-depth conversation with the king? Could they have come to some agreement, something that would have worked, been acceptable? Probably not. But it's an interesting path, and it's interesting that where Netero would more than likely, in most circumstances, if he was in the power position, would have preferred to do that. But he didn't do it this time. And he's thinking about, this is going on in his mind while all this amazing action is going on. And the king, what's interesting about this is he's so intent of watching, not just for an opening, but watching what Netero's doing and studying it. Because, as you know, he's a big-time strategist and tactician. And so he's watching what's going on. So this is all going on really at the same time. Okay? So you have action, and then the actions that are going on in the head, the thinking there. And that's what makes this anime, Togashi, so amazing. He's just an amazing storyteller. He has his own way of doing this stuff. And so I'll leave it at that. But it was, and the animators did a really, really good job. I like Hunter x Hunter a lot. With the anime and the manga, just totally love it. Let's go to the first scene. I want to spend a little time on this because let's talk about motivation here for just a little bit. We have 6 characters in a room in the beginning, right? And it's a scene where you can see there's dialogue, there's some things going on, you can kind of tell, and it's a scene that a person could kind of go through it, and then they're like, because they're wanting to get to the fight. That's what they're wanting to see. But let's just spend a little bit of time here. 6 characters in the room. Kogami she's down there, was going to die. Her life is getting saved. And her motivation, what got her to this whole thing, and she's definitely a character I didn't warm up to very much in the beginning, but it was to be the best at something, to be self-sufficient, And so here she is blind, mastering this game, and she's able to reach some level of self-sufficiency, some dignity, a little bit of renown in this whole thing, playing a game. And so that's what got her there, okay? Because she was somebody for the king to, you know, to battle against, you know, in this game. Now, like I said, I'm going to go to some of the minor characters. Meleron, who's somebody that probably skipped over. He's the one that looks kind of like an iguana or something, and or a chameleon. And his motivation, because he still remembers parts of him that still remembers when he was a human, is to revenge his foster mother, who the king killed. And that's all he cares about. All right, and then there's, of course, the connection between him and Knuckles. The whole thing with Pitou, which I looked it up, she's or he or she's her. I always wondered why they would refer to Pitou as a he, but it's her hermaphrodite, according to what I saw on the net. So hers is pretty straightforward. It's to protect the king and follow his orders. But see, the complexity here is the first priority is to protect the king, right? But she's having to save the life of this human because of the second thing, you know, follow the orders of the king, the balance. So if the king was in danger, then she would just, you know, leave and then go. But so this person has their priorities set that way. So you can understand the motivation of all these characters. Gon. Now, he wants to, you know, his father and all that, but his big thing now is to restore Kite. His whole purpose, laser vision, is to restore Kite back to life from being a zombie. And so he's willing to risk hurting Kagome, who he doesn't really know, or hurt a lot of people in order to achieve that goal. So he's not your typical, he's not your Batman type character that's stopping for all the lights and doing. There's a certain element of, you know, push comes to shove, he's willing to do some pretty bad things to achieve his goals also. And he's the main hero. So that's a complex character. There's Knuckles, who was somebody that I thought was going to be pure comic relief when I first saw him being loud and everything. But this character I really like because you have someone having to project such an image of rampant, violent aggression to cover, you know, this shell like a crab, to cover the soft part inside, because Knuckles is really a compassionate individual. And you'll see this, okay, time and time again. He whether it's to heck with the mission, it's all about saving people. And even the person that he teammates with, Meleron, he's even there, hey man, if you need to breathe or whatever. I mean, he's just in his heart he's a good guy, okay? But he has to project that image to project himself. That's also his weakness. That's a problem that he has, is being too compassionate and also too gullible, which is even more dangerous in my opinion. So where's the balance? You know, you have the balance. So he'd make a completely horrible villain because he's just simply too compassionate. And then we get to Poof. Holy cow, this is a complex character, right? And I'm just going to throw some random stuff out here, but his is ideology. I mean, it isn't protecting the king, okay, is his top priority, but right underneath, almost equal to that, is the ideology of this king, this Chimera Ant kingdom has. And so that's why he's so concerned about the way the king thinks and Kageme's influence on him, which he hates. He's seen human beings changing, making changes from his ideology of the way the ants should rule and interact with people, right? And even Yuppie, okay? There's this aspect where he's worried about that because he's already seen that Yuppie let this guy live and didn't even tell him about it. So he's very suspicious about this contact with humans, you know, diluting the purity of Poof's Chimera Ant ideology. You just see this. It's just amazing. And the interaction between, I mean, there's a lot of things he does. I could probably do a 45-minute video just on his thinking, which I'm not going to do, of, of how he's interacting with these characters. But when he leaves, okay, he's thinking, how can I achieve these goals in minimizing my damage? So he doesn't want to simply go right there and kill Kagome, which he would just love to do. Kamugi, excuse me. But what he does is he leaves, okay, and Pitou sees this. She sees what's going on, okay. She gets angry. And he's hoping, and he does it, he says, I'll fight you, but I'll only be there for the next 10 minutes. So what he's wanting either this to aggravate the situation, so there's a fight in that room, you know, and Pitou, because he left her there, 2 against 1, while she's operating on someone, okay? So, yeah, so if he can get rid of Kabugi at the, right, you know, by still having some kind of an excuse, you know, with Pitou to be able to cover for that, he would just be ecstatic, right? And he will have got rid of her without, you know, going against the king's orders or whatever. So that was the timing of it, right? That whole 10-minute thing. And then Gon is, now this is what's interesting, Gon is so focused that he catches the whole thing of Knuckles being too naive. He's like, look, this guy's already lying. He can't prove this isn't, you know, a clone of him or whatever. This is the original. He's not the original. He can't prove it. And I already know that he was going to try to attack me from behind anyhow. So the guy is obviously lying. But Poof is another character I didn't care much for to begin with. But he's an extremely complex character. All right, that's going to be it. I really love the series. As you can tell, it's really amazing. The only thing bad about the series is, which I've talked to a lot of people, is it starts slow. The long walk and everything is slow. It's before you really get to it, and that's the only problem. It's not like Naruto that just hooks you right in the beginning. But it's amazing. I'm going to keep trying to do hangouts if people show up. And just talking about that briefly before I go ahead and end the video is that life happens. Okay, if you say you're going to show up to a hangout and you don't, I don't get upset, because life happens. And as a matter of fact, I may miss one of these, and I set these up. That's just the way it is, okay? And that's fine, and nobody should get angry about that. I do a lot of times wish people would show up because I want to hear what they have to say, but that's the way it is. And then, as I mentioned, I just want to keep mentioning this because we're going to do, later today of doing this, we do Naruto's Hangout, and we've had 10, okay? So if we ever... just remember the other side to that, anybody watching this, is if we ever get 10 people in and you're the 11th or whatever or more person trying to get in the hangout, but people got in before you, don't get mad. This is the way the hangouts work, right? Just don't even get upset. You catch the next one. Or in the glitches that happen with Google Plus is a freaking nightmare. Don't even get me into that. So I'm doing everything I can. There's just a lot of problems with it. I would strongly suggest going to the actual video if you're going to go to a hangout, and going in that way. That seems to be a much more reliable way. And then give you the join option and go in that way. I think people are relying on getting the emails or it being up in the little bell in the YouTube thing or whatever, and I don't think those are always very reliable. So anyway, until next time, take care.